We started this morning in South Bend and here in Fort Wayne, and now we're headed to Evansville, just telling the story on a strong finish of the Indiana General Assembly. We began as an education session, and we ended with a session that's made a historic investment in education at every level and every form in the state of Indiana, and I think it's a win for Indiana's kids and a win for Indiana's families. I'm also very pleased that we passed a balanced budget that protected our reserves, keeps Indiana on a strong fiscal foundation, and we also began the process of sending a balanced budget amendment of the Constitution to the people of Indiana in the coming years, so that we'll take the practices of today and make them the expectations in our third century. So I think that and all the other initiatives represent a strong finish of this session of the General Assembly. I was pleased to be able to share that with people here at Halls and around the state today. My goal is to see us have 100,000 more kids in B or better schools by the fall of 2020. To accomplish that, we've really got to raise the fortunes and improve the outcomes of all of our schools. That's why you've seen a historic investment in our traditional K-12 schools and the opportunity to give performance grants and raise the pay of our high-performing teachers in schools. But I do believe that expanding choices in public charter schools and in our voucher program are all part of a winning equation for Hoosiers. And to have in this budget the very first facilities funding for our public charter schools, I think will strengthen the financial foundation underneath those charter schools and invite more investment and more innovation in those unique public schools that are known as charters. You know, our focus right now is entirely on finishing the work of this session of the General Assembly. And I can tell you I've got a big pile of bills on my desk. We're going to be reviewing those over the next week. And after we complete that work, my family and I are going to take some time aside and determine the best place that we feel called to serve. For that part, though, I have spent the last 2 years preparing to run for re-election. Indiana always comes first, but we'll make a final decision about our plans in the coming weeks and let Hoosiers know. You know, I have tremendous respect for any man or woman who's willing to put their name on the ballot at any level. But again, my focus today is really on making sure that Hoosiers know that in the course of this long session of the General Assembly, started as an education session, that's right where we ended, with a historic investment in education for all of our schools. And I think it's going to have a transformational impact on the future of our kids and future of education. The Regional Cities Initiative, the opportunity for the greater Fort Wayne area in northeastern Indiana to have all new resources to plan regionally in ways that will attract investment and attract people to this part of the state for years to come, has the potential to be a real game changer economically in the state of Indiana, and I'm grateful that we secured full funding for our Regional Cities Initiative in this program. Well, it's all about jobs, really. I've had the chance over the last several years to travel to Japan and to England and to Israel, telling Indiana's story, and the opportunity to travel to China and tell the story about the great business environment we have in the state of Indiana and invite investment, foreign direct investment into the state of Indiana is going to be a great opportunity for us. We're very encouraged that the schedule is coming together. We'll be taking a delegation of Hoosiers with us and doing our part to tell Indiana's story and hopefully come back with investments and more jobs for Hoosiers. Indiana is simply one of the best places in America to start a business, grow a business, or get a job. We have one of the best business environments in the country. But I truly do believe that as we travel overseas, and frankly as we travel around the United States and raise awareness of the opportunities and the low tax environment, a balanced budget environment, pro-growth regulatory policies, right to work, that's all a story that's resonating, and it's resulting in the kind of growth that we're seeing with more than 100,000 new private sector jobs in the last 2 years alone. So I'm excited about telling that story in China in just a few short weeks, and we'll continue to tell that story across the country and across the world. I support religious freedom, and I was pleased to sign into law the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that essentially made the judicial standard in Indiana state courts the same as it's been in federal courts for much of the last 20 years. But I recognize that it became a subject of controversy and frankly, great misunderstanding, and I regret that. Now, we moved a bill that clarified the heart and the intentions of the people of Indiana in that regard. I mean, we are an open and welcoming and hospitable place to everyone in all of our communities. And I think that the legislation that we passed and signed into law clarified that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is a shield, it's not a sword. And the fact that it calmed the storm and gave us the opportunity to turn back to a legislative session that was focused on education, that was focused on the future of our kids, focused on economic development in regional cities, and a balanced budget, I think speaks for itself.